All right. Well, thank you for that warm welcome. Thank you for that light round of forced applause. And I'm to the point now, I've kind of, I dated seriously. Of course, I take pastoring well. Someone tells me to get out, I get out. But I'm to the point now where I'm just really dating for jokes. And so I've got with a girl, I'm like, that is hilarious. It's over. And I used to not to be that way. I was not a big conflict guy. I didn't want to, I just didn't want to deal with it. So, one of the girls I dated, when I broke up with her, I faxed her. And that is not true. I FedExed her. And because it drags it out. And so, anyway, I absolutely love doing what I'm doing. I've been on the road about 20 years or so. I've spoken to about 2,400 churches in my lifetime. I've written 19 books. And I absolutely love it as much today as I did when I started. I live in Oklahoma. Anybody from Oklahoma? Anybody? By show of hands, really? Anyone live there now? Look at the hands go down. That's right. And that's because anyone who's ever been there has left. And there's nothing there to see, really. I love being here because in this state, you guys have these things all over the property called trees. And in Oklahoma, we have one tree that built a fence around it, and they're like, let's go to the forest. And, right, it's just not a lot to see. And, every state has something that gets made fun of, and for us, it's the fact that we have no trees. So they just started a campaign, I'm not making this up, called Up with Trees. Duh. What are the directions they're going to go? What are the choices, right? Up with trees. And they've made signs that say Up with Trees, and the signs are made out of wood. That's wrong. All right, so I got out there as quickly as I could, and I flew out of our international airport named Will Rogers Airport, named after a guy who died in a plane crash. And even sketchier. So Oklahoma City is a good place to be from, and so I try to stay on the road as much as I can, and just love being in so many different environments. I have to say, in all the things that I've done, this is really one of the first times that I've been in an environment with all married people. And I feel like I'm in a room full of tuxedos, and I'm a pair of brown shoes. And, right, but it's been so great to get to just sit at tables with you and just be affirmed by what you're doing in ministry. I've been so charged up by it. There's been such a great atmosphere. And so I love getting anywhere to speak, but quite frankly, traveling. How many people flew here? Anybody fly? Everyone, most people? Okay. Well, as you know, flying is the journey through the valley of the shadow of death, right? It is all things complicated. It's very tedious. And so when I got here to Atlanta, Jeff and Gail were my ride. We had never met. And so I texted him. I said, I'm at the baggage claim, between baggage claim 4 and 5. Right, so I'm looking at people. I'm trying to make eye contact to see, if that's them. And really, I just look like some random psycho guy leering at people. And right, but I'm trying to. And so before they got there, I was waiting on my bags. All right, so I flew Delta, and so my bags may or may not make it when it comes to them. Because if you don't know, Delta is an acronym for doesn't even land there anymore. All right, and. Or in my case, don't expect the luggage to arrive. All right, so, you know what I'm saying? So it could go either way. So I go up to the baggage claim, right? And, I'm from here to her, right? And I said, hey, I was on flight 2656, which is a fine flight number. I don't have a problem with it. Although I was on a Delta flight, that the flight number was 5050. Might make it, might not. We don't know. Just wait and see. And so I go up to the guy, right? And I said, I was on such and such flight, and my bags aren't here. And he looks right at me and says to me, has that flight landed? I wanted to go, no, that they're circling the airport and pushing us out one at a time. And I made it first. So that's one of my experiences. Just trying to get anywhere is a huge ordeal. I'll tell you the other thing that slows it up for me is that every airport I go to, I get searched. They pull me out of line because I look so frightening and scary. And I was in the Memphis airport, and at the time I was writing a book on the character of Christ. And so I had a bag full of Christian research books, all right? So I'm traveling from place to another. And so since '94, I started 12 citywide Bible studies for young professionals and young singles in 12 different cities. So everything that I've written, I've had to do it in random hotel lobbies and whatnot. So I have this bag of books, right? So I'm standing in line at Memphis Airport. And the security people, the TSA, which if you don't know, TSA stands for Thousands Standing Around. And because they don't do anything. And so they said, we think we see something suspicious in your bag. And so I hand it over, right? They take my bag. They unzip Bible number 1. You know, they take out Bible number 2. Chuck Swindoll, Charles Stanley. I'm like, you get anything off that at all? Right? I mean, it's all Christian books. It's a bag full of Christian books. They unload my bag. At the bottom of my bag, I have a bunch of felt tip markers because I color code my Bible. And they pull these pins out and they say, we think these might be weapons. And I said, what do you think I'm going to do? Get on the plane and highlight everybody their markers? The security lady with the rubber gloves, right, on both hands, scoops the pins up and carries them to the x-ray machine like they're kryptonite. Like, you know, right? And, I'm watching this and I'm late for my flight. I'm trying not to flip out, but I couldn't help it. And I said to her, hey, you need to be careful. That one in the middle is a Sharpie. And that is permanent ink, so look out with that. And they did not think that was as funny as you did. Anyway. So I've always had this drama of getting places, and so my sensitivity to all this type of stuff. Because you think, man, these people do they not have a skill set for noticing the obvious, right? Are they just clueless? And so I've been on the road already for a week, and so I flew from from Oklahoma City to Houston on United. All right, and which I hadn't flown a lot, but United, when they go through their little safety mantra, when they get you on the plane, little safety liturgy, and it's basically directions on what to do if the plane becomes a convertible. That's really what they're talking about. They don't say it, but they go to this whole deal. Like if you're, if the airplane, descends, then your seat cushion can be used as a flotation device. And let me just say, if I'm on a plane that's being hurled at the ground 600 miles an hour, my seat cushion is going to be used as a toilet. And somebody else can float it after I'm done with it. Really, I'm like, I don't want it. Do you want it? And right. And so when I got off the flight, though, in their little seat pocket, they have directions. They have all this stuff written out, right? So they have a card. And so I was reading this card. And you're not supposed to steal it from the plane, so I had to make a copy of it for me. I brought it to you just to show you that we live in a world of people that are not fully aware of what's going on. And here it is. This is a United safety card, right? It looks like a page out of Scripture. Look at that, right? See all the verses right there on the left, on the right-hand side, and it has directions, all written in 7 different languages, which is proof that cluelessness has gone global. All right, so there's a lot of people around the world that don't get it, right? So I'm just going to read you what it says in English, all right? Printed on the card in English. If you are sitting in an exit row and you cannot read this card, so long. Good luck with that. So I find stuff like that from time to time. Here's another little evidence that we live in a world of people that really don't get it. This is an actual letter. This is proof that people that are clueless hold day jobs. This is an actual letter from the Department of Social Services in Greenville, South Carolina. Anybody from Greenville? Okay, getting ready to make fun of it. And just making sure. And so written to an actual guy. All right, I'm just going to read it to you. It says, Dear Al Palanza, your food stamps will be stopped effective March 2010 because we received notice that you passed away. May God bless you. And you may reapply if there's a change in your circumstance. That's right. That's one of those guys. That's right. So my point is, we live in a world of people that are kind of clueless, which makes what we're doing with individuals and with couples all that much more vital, right? You got to tell somebody what to do with a seat cushion if the plane is crashing. Well, you can imagine how much help people need in their relationships, right? You know what I'm saying? And so I absolutely love. I'm just curious now, how many couples do we have here in the house? How many couples? Show of hands. All right. Okay. Now, how many of you guys have kids? Kids? All right, so I spend a lot of time speaking to individuals about their future relationships, right? I try not to say singles because that can mean a lot of things. It can mean crazy people down the hall and to the left, but individuals, right? And so, but I have the greatest respect for parents. And how many of you guys have kids? Let me see the show of hands. Okay, now listen, I don't have anything negative to say about raising kids. I can't even keep up with my room key, right? Let alone another human being. You know what I'm saying? And but I have to say, one of my pet peeves with kids and flying is that if I'm in a seat and I get behind some kid who wants to play peekaboo with me on a flight, like they're popping over the seat, right? They're popping up, for a half-hour flight. Okay, I can fake it, right? Half hour, right? I can act surprised, right? Hey, right? Okay, I can do that, right? But if we're on a 2-hour flight and I'm rolling into that second hour and I'm running out of ways to reference expressions of surprise, I just want to grab that kid and go, listen, it's always going to be me. I can't take it. I can't take it, right? So, but I still love doing what I'm doing in spite of how much craziness the travel life brings, and so all my friends are married, and I grew up in a house full of women. I was raised by my mother, my grandmother, and all my friends are married. All right, so I've learned a lot of what I've learned from just being in relationships with people in real time. And although I'm not a relationship expert, I have learned that women talk in code. All right, now. How many of you guys already know this? How many of the gentlemen know this, right? Women talk in code, right? In my household growing up, my mom, my grandmother, women in my life never really say what they mean, right? So this means in a relationship, when a woman says what she doesn't mean, the man has to become the code breaker, right? This is how it works, right? You have to figure out what that means. So if you go out to dinner, right, and your wife says to you, I hate the way you chewed that chicken. Okay, that comment is not about chicken, right? But as the man, you got to be the code breaker. You got to figure out what that means. You hate the way I chewed that chicken. So you have to sit there and go, okay, it's barbecue chicken. Barbecue chicken comes from Texas. Her parents live in Texas. You're still mad at your mom. That's right. That's what I'm trying to say. But I have to say, it's single adult world, right? Single adult world is crazy when it comes to relationships. I'll tell you what motivates me to continue to do what I do is that these citywide Bible studies that I've built. I did one in Houston, went from 40 to 2,500 in about 2.5 years. I did one in Memphis, went from 90 to 850 in about a year and a half. I did one in Oklahoma City, ran about 1,400. And these were regular events for me. So I would fly to these cities, every week for 2 years or 4 years or whatever. So I was engaged with those crowds, And in those Bible studies, I had people coming into my Bible studies that were 24 and already divorced, right? 25, 26, already through with their second marriage. I mean, they were coming back to church to try to figure out how to sift through the wreckage and how to get it back together, And so the single adult landscape, when it comes to an individual trying to find a love life, is ridiculous. I mean, it's crazy because everyone's playing all kinds of crazy games, right? You got people that are in the world and they have their own little game they use and they bring that game into the church, right? And they try to come to the church and pick up single adults, which is, you want someone to meet someone at church that loves God, but if you're coming to church to get a date, really, I'm a little ambivalent about that, right? I mean, we're glad they're in church, but if you're coming to church, you can't just say what you'd normally say if you were in the world. You have to use Christian pickup lines, right? You have to say things like, so what translation do you read? And, or your name must be Grace because you're so amazing. Some of y'all know people that will try that. And, right? You have to say things like, so I was reading the book of Numbers and I noticed that yours wasn't in it. And, right? You see what I'm saying? Right? And so that landscape is a mess, right? It's crazy. So you got people that they turn every environment into a search, right? If I begin to, if we had single adults here, they walk into this room going, are they here? Will this be the morning that I meet him? Right? They start circling the crowd. Hi, nice to meet you. No, breath stinks. And everything becomes a big pursuit. Everything becomes a big game, right? Then you have online dating, right? Online dating to me is super sketchy, right? Because to me, online dating is like going to McDonald's, because what you see in the picture is never what you get in person, right? You know what I'm saying? It's not the same thing, right? Then I have my married friends, right, to say some of the craziest advice I've ever gotten about dating, I've gotten from my married friends, right? And here's what I hear a lot, right? They always say the same thing. Well, when you stop looking, that's when you find them. When you stop looking, that's when you find them. Does that logic work anywhere else in life? Have you ever lost your keys? Oh, that's great. I'm going to be late for work. I'm going to miss the meeting. It's going to cost me my job. I don't know where my keys are. I'm just going to stop looking for. Oh, look, they came right to me. As soon as I stopped here, it's like magic. Right? And so you have this whole world that's kind of filled with misinformation and people that are being desperate, and then people get hurt in that system, right? Because that's not how it's supposed to work. So this is what happens, is that you got individuals roll into a church having tried to do it their way, right? And then this is what develops those little pockets of every church I speak at always has a little pocket of the We Hate Men Club, women that kind of get around and trade stories about how terrible men are, right? And all the bad stories and all the things that we hate men, and they always say, men are such dogs, which is so unfair because dogs are loyal. And right? And so what happens is you get this whole world of just people trying to work relationship out in their own means and in their own terms. As a result, it just gets more and more confusing, right? And so this is what brings me to why I do what I do, is that I feel like one of my roles to the church was to speak clearly to individuals that want to get married, that are on their way to getting married. And we say, well, what do we do with that, right? What wisdom can we speak into that, right, that will give them hope? And I'll tell you what, I just want to read a verse to you that I've been speaking to a lot of single adults lately, and I know you know it, but here's what happens in unmarried world, right? Unmarried world, people go, this can't be the way it's supposed to be, right? There's got to be a better way than turning everything into some big hunt, right? There's got to be a better way than turning everything into some big giant game, and I might fund somebody, I might not, right? There's got to be a better way. And I heard that a lot. And you know what went off in my mind when I heard that? That verse that Paul wrote where he says, but still I show you a more excellent way. Still I show you a more excellent way. A more excellent way to do your love life, right? That comment precedes one of the most famous chapters in all the scripture, right? Which is 1 Corinthians 13, the love chapter. And Paul says, I show you still a more excellent way that doesn't reduce everything to a game or a hunt or some kind of insincerity, but to do love and to look for love on God's terms and God's way. And so with that in context, listen to what he says about love. Listen to this. Love is patient. Love is kind. Love is not jealous. Love does not brag and is not arrogant. It does not act unbecomingly, and it does not seek its own. It's not provoked, and it does not take into account a wrong suffered. It does not rejoice in unrighteousness, but rejoices with the truth. And love bears all things, and believes all things, and hopes all things, and endures all things. And love never fails. And you know what my challenge to singles have been? Is to take that list and to live it out in their dating life. That instead of playing a bunch of crazy games, I mean, I've been to, as a single guy, I've been to all those conferences on how to tell if it's God's will in 2 dates or less, and there really is a conference like that, and I really did take it, and it really doesn't work. And right, but one of their deals is, you got to make a list of your mate, make a list of your mate, and I've met people that got 300 things on their list. If you got time to make a list of 300 things, you have to get out more often, really. And right, but every single adult does this, man. They make a list of 300 things, and then as the years pass, they start to mark things off that list, right? They're like, well, I don't need that. Well, I guess that's not important. And a single adult hits an age and stage in life where their list consists of anyone who's breathing with a day job, right? I mean, that's it, right? And so here's what I've been challenged to do, is to take this list and to live out the love list. And to say, what would happen in your relationship with whoever you're building a relationship with if you just tried to do these things more intentionally? If you just tried to be patient, which means that you just make room for the other person, or you just make a space and give grace to other people, what would happen in your relationship if that you just tried to be kind, right, towards one another, and just to act kind instead of trying to seek your own way? The idea of being kind means that just to be considerate, right? Just to offer consideration to the other person, that if date night became a way of saying, you know what, I just want to get better at living the love list. I just want to get better. Because, in single adult world, the idea is everyone's looking for the right one. They're on the search. I got to find the right one, right? Well, that's the reason why that doesn't work is because there is no right one, right? There is no right one. There is no wrong one. There are only the prepared ones. The only ones that are ready to step into covenant are the ones that are prepared for it. There's not a right one or a wrong one. There's only prepared ones, right? People are flawed, but God's plan for marriage is perfect. And it works if you get two people into that plan will work for them. And so I've just been saying to them, what if you just took the list and you just made it a point to live it out? Where it says that love does not envy. That means, envy is like, I don't feel good about myself, so I'm going to make you not feel good about yourself. That's what envy is, right? Since I hate my life, I'm going to do everything I can to drag your life down and to make it worse. And what if what if you just flip the dynamic in relationship, whether you're doing something fun or having dinner or talking or chatting or whatever, you just tried to affirm the other person with your words and your actions. You just tried to model kindness. And all of a sudden you get singles in the process and the flow of practicing and living the love list. You see it? And instead of where the Bible says that love is not proud, right? That means that we don't always have to one up everybody. We don't have to top everyone else's story. And I just begin to say to them, what if you just tried to be intentional about that in every relationship setting? When you're riding bikes, when you're in your group, when you're hanging out, when you're out one-on-one, if you just said, you know what, I'm not going to try to play any games, act like someone I'm not. I'm just going to live the list. I'm going to live the list of love. I'm going to do the best I can to be the best type of lover I can. Because in single adult world, there's no right or wrong people. There's only prepared people. The people that are prepared to step into covenant. So what I'm doing with my app is I'm calling my app the Love Able app, in which we are helping young adults and single adults to become able to love and to be loved. And I know everyone in this room has seen a lot of beautiful weddings, and that are followed by a lot of ugly marriages. A lot of beautiful weddings, man. A lot of beautiful costumes and candles and all kinds of stuff. A lot of terrible marriages. Everyone rushes to the altar, and they think they're ready to say I do. But you know what I've been trying to do with singles? I've been trying to get them to the point to where before they say I do, they can say I can. I can commit because I've developed a skill set which tells me I can, I will, and then I do. Right? There's something that comes before the I do, and in preparation, it's the ability to say, I can commit to this. Because during my single adult season, I worked on the list, man. I worked on loving like Jesus loved. I worked on manifesting the love of God and getting it into the tables and into the environments, which gave me the ability to say, I can do this because I've used my single adult years, not playing the field, but practicing the list. I can. And I will. Every time I get the opportunity, I live it out. And then there comes a moment where they can step into that altar and say, now I do. And the goal is to help individuals to become more love able. And I just want to say something else. The thing that's helped me the most in my journey, I've been through a lot of craziness and a lot of drama in relationships, and I've dated a lot of crazy psycho women. I dated a woman that had so many personalities that when she went to therapy, she got a group rate, and you know what I'm saying? And it was just terrible, right? But I'll tell you what helped me the most. It was my married friends. You know what gave me hope? It's because I could see relationships where people were doing it right. And I know we're all here for strategy and planning and figuring out, but just the simple act of you doing marriage doing marriage the way God would do it, sends a huge message. So I just came here today to tell you that your life, your actions towards one another, man, give me hope not to quit, not to turn inward, not to give up, and to stop believing. And I just want you to know that regardless of your approach to ministry or, kind of what you got going on in your church or what you're hoping to get going in your church, that just the very act of the way you treat your spouse, that gives me hope. It sends a message that love is still real and that the list can still be lived and that my time is not wasted during this season. So I just want you to know, I know you're making a difference in your ministry, but you're also making a difference through the covenant that you're in. And I just want to say blessings on you and just pray over you. All right. Lord Jesus, I thank you for this group of people and their ministries. I thank you for, in the future, you're going to open doors for them through date night. You're going to open doors that give them access to the city and access to vendors and access to companies that they would have never gotten in had it not been for the vision that you laid out for us to live the love list. And God, I pray that every sacrifice that they've made in their personal life would be rewarded to them 100 times over. That God, you would bless the work of their hands in their personal life and in their ministry. And that this next year would be a year of increase and a year of success. And in your strong and powerful name I pray. Amen. Amen. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, brother. And if you know any single ladies,
That's right.
Just always trying to help. Thanks, man. He lives the list. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to take this next hour, and we are going to understand what really wants to happen in this room. And our prayer is that this time will be more of just an inspiration. Hear what you've learned and what you're planning on doing here in this next season. And so, yes.
Do you remember this plan?
And we have a timer, and Rabs is our timer.
And we're gonna hand you the phone and hit the start button. So you're gonna time yourself for a minute each. And so you are self-regulating.
That sounds
It's a
serious.
special tool.
Yeah.
So
Okay. So how about we start this table? Now here's the other thing. If you're sharing with a group, like say there's a bunch of you don't all have to share. Okay, so just one of you can share and represent. So go ahead and we're gonna go 1, 2, 3, and everybody point to the person you're sharing. 1, 2, 3. Okay, we got it. Cool. All right. How'd you like that? We just cut our time down. Like that? That's pretty good. So, all right. So here we go. We're gonna work the room, and the question is this: this is your opportunity just to inspire us in literally 60 seconds. You're gonna say simply this: hey, we're from Date Night, Florida, and Date Night, Florida is putting together this really killer program across the state of Florida, and here's how we're doing it with this app. Everybody's got the app, but this is our target and how we're going to do it. Boom, here's our timetable. We're pretty excited.
if you pick a date,
If you pick the
what's
date,
your action steps?
what's your action steps? Some of you might go, my head's still spinning, I got to get back to you, whatever. Okay, we'll pass on. And if you don't want to share, right? If you're just not ready to share, you could just simply say, this has been a great time, and Michael Smalley, what?
Christopher West wanted me to ask if there was ever going to be allowed nudity in these apps. He wanted me to ask.
Why do you always include, you're going to use Christopher West's name all the time now. Christopher West wanted to know if anybody will give me $10. Huh? That would be good. No, nudity and pornography are the only things that and little clips of you speaking cannot be in apps. That's the other thing. So. All right, so we're going to start here. Are you ready?
Ready.
All right.
You're
You're going to give her the phone?
Yeah, you gotta hold the phone. That's part of the rule. That's part of the self-regulation.
So please stand up too, because it's all presentation.
Wait a minute, I didn't start yet.
Well, you better go quick.
I'll hold your time. time you.
All right.
I'll
Oh,
time you.
come on.
You're
Good morning, everyone. My name is Lisa Paige, and I'm with a group of 4, and we're from Fathers and Families Coalition of America. We are national and international, and we're going to have a daddy-daughter date night the first week in June, and that's what our app is about. And we are going to, our goal is to increase that bond and increase that that connection between fathers and daughters. And so, for example, if there's a father and daughter who don't live in the same state, and they have access to camera phones, then maybe they can choose a meal to cook together while they are streaming each other, and they can eat together and they can ask questions. Or there can be a survey: how well do you know your daughter? How well do you know your father? And then for people who are in town and have the same date night, I'm looking at them going fast. Okay, people who have the same date in the same space, they can go on an adventure and they can invite each other and take pictures, kind of like a scavenger hunt. Take a picture of here with you in front of it, and then you can end up having a storybook at the end. Time.
That's awesome.